Alright, so I'm going to do a quick video on how to add and subtract decimals, okay? Um, the first thing you want to do when we add and subtract decimals is always to make a quick estimate. And estimates should be just quick, easy. I don't want to do paper and pencil math. I want to do it in my brain, okay? So 8 and 35 hundredths, that's reasonably close to 8, okay? 7 and 24 hundredths, that's reasonably close to 7. So I'm just going to do 8 plus 7, 15, okay? Now, to add decimals, it's just like our basic addition, okay? Algorithm that you use. The key is to make sure that your decimal point stays lined up. So 8 and 35 hundredths plus 7 and 24 hundredths, okay? Notice here, my ones place is lined up. My decimal point gets its own column. I'm not going to put any digits over here. The decimal point needs to be in its own column, and my tenths are lined up, and my hundredths are lined up. When you add decimals, make sure everything is lined up. You have your place values all lined up. So now I'm just going to add. I'm going to actually start in my hundredths place. So I'm going to add my hundredths. So 5 hundredths plus 4 hundredths, that's 9 hundredths. 3 tenths plus 2 tenths, that's 5 tenths. Just bring your decimal point straight down. And then my ones, 8 plus 7 is 15. So 15. So my answer is 15 and 59 hundredths. Check with your estimate. Ah, hey, that's really close. My estimate was 15. My answer is 15 and 59 hundredths. That's really close, so I know my answer makes sense. Okay, let's do a couple more. So I have 2 and 84 hundredths plus 4 and 35 hundredths. Again, let me make an estimate. So I'm going to do 2 and 84 hundredths. I'm going to say that's actually closer to 3. So 3 plus 4 and 35 hundredths, I'll say that's closer to 4. So 3 plus 4, I should be in the ballpark of 7. Again, just set it up and down, and make sure your place values are lined up. So my ones, my decimal point, tenths, hundredths. So 4 ones, decimal point gets its own column, 35 hundredths. Again, you can see how I have everything lined up. Now I'm going to add them. Okay, so add my hundredths. 5 hundredths plus 4 hundredths is 9 hundredths. 8 tenths plus 3 tenths is 11 tenths. So think about what you know about 11 tenths. That I can make a hole out there and I have 1/10 left over. So I'll put 1/10 here and regroup that hole that I have over to my ones place. Now add my ones. 4 plus 2 plus the 1 I regrouped over. So 4 plus 2 plus 1, that's 7. So my answer is 7 and 19 hundredths. Again, that makes sense because look at my estimate. I did 3 plus 4 and got 7. So 7 19 hundredths, it's awfully close to 7. All right, let's do one more. Okay, let's do this bottom one down here. So here I have 2 and 965 thousandths plus 7 and 47 hundredths. I'll say 2 and 965 thousandths is reasonably close to 3. And 7 and 47 hundredths, I'm just going to say it's closer to 7. So 3 plus 7 is 10. So now let's add these. Okay, and again, make sure everything's lined up. So 2 and 965 thousandths plus 7 and 47 hundredths. Now, when you start to add these, again, you can see that I have everything lined up though. My ones are in their own column, my decimal point's in its own column, my tenths, my hundredths, and my thousandths are in its own column. So when you go to add, here I'll start my thousandths place. There's nothing here, so 5 plus, well, nothing here. And remember, we could attach that trailing 0 to make that easier for us. So 5 thousandths plus 0 thousandths is 5 thousandths. Now let's add my hundredths. 6 hundredths plus 7 hundredths is 13 hundredths, so there's a tenth in there, so I can, my 3 hundredths from 13 hundredths, and then I can regroup that 1/10 from there over to my tenths place. So 9 tenths plus 4 tenths is 13 tenths, plus 1 more tenth is 14 tenths. So in 14 tenths, I have that one hole I can regroup. So put my 4 tenths from that 14 here, bring my decimal point straight over, and regroup that one hole over there. So 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So 2 and 965 thousandths plus 7 and 470 thousandths, or 7 and 47 hundredths, is the same as 10, or if I add them, is 10 and 435 thousandths. Again, it's reasonably close to my 10 holes that I estimated. Okay, so adding decimals is just like basic addition that you're used to. there's nothing to it, just that decimal point. Just make sure you bring that decimal point straight down, okay? Let's do a subtraction example now. Okay, so here I have 9 and 48 hundredths minus 7 and 291 thousandths. Again, first thing I want to do is make an estimate. I'm going to say that 9 and 48 hundredths is close to 9. So I'm going to do 9 minus 7 and 291 thousandths is close to 7. So I'm just going to do 9 minus 7, and that equals 2. So here I'll do 9 and 48 hundredths. Okay, I'm going to set this up and down. Same idea. You want to keep everything lined up. 7 and 291 thousandths here. Okay, and again, you can see how I have everything nice and lined up. My ones are in their own column. My decimal points in its own column. My tenths are in their own column. My hundredths are in their own column, and my thousandths are in their own column. Okay, so here, let's look. 9 and 48 hundredths minus 7 291 thousandths. I have nothing over here. So I'm going to attach a trailing zero just to make that easier for me to see. So now I need to subtract. And I'm just going to subtract like I've always subtracted. So I can't take 1,000th from 0 thousandths. So I'm going to go over and trade 100th. So if I had 8 hundredths, I now have 7 hundredths left for more thousandths. And there's 10 thousandths in 100th. So I get 10 more thousandths for that. So if I had 0 thousandths, I now have 10 thousandths. Now I can subtract. So 10 minus 1 is 9 thousandths in my thousandths column. Now I'll subtract our hundredths. Again, I can't take 9 from 7, so I'm going to go over to my tenths. So if I had 4 tenths, I now have 3 tenths. And I know there's 10 hundredths and 1 tenth, so I'm going to trade a tenth for more hundredths. So if I had 7, I got 10 more, so now I have 17 hundredths. And now I can subtract. So 17 hundredths minus 9 hundredths is 8 hundredths. And 3 tenths minus 2 tenths is 1 tenth. Bring down your decimal point, and 9 minus 7 is 2. So 9 and 48 hundredths minus 7 and 291 thousandths is 2 and 189 thousandths. And again, that's reasonably close to my 2. And again, just because this is just like how you guys always subtract, let's just do one more example here, okay? Let's do this bottom one here. 19 and 41 hundredths minus 8 and 274 thousandths, okay? I almost did not make my estimate. So 19 and 41 hundredths is close to 19, minus 8 and 274 thousandths is close to 8. So 19 minus 8 would get me 11. Okay, so I know my answer should be in the ballpark of 11. Again, here, I have all of my digits lined up, okay? So I can see that in 19, I got my tens place in its own column. I got my ones place in its own column. I got my decimal point in its own column. My tenths in their own column. My hundredths in its own column. And my thousandths in its own column, okay? So again, to subtract, I'm going to just attach that trailing zero to help me, okay? So now I can clearly see that I can't take 4 thousandths from 0 thousandths. So I'm going to go next door and get 10 more thousandths for this hundredth. So I'm going to trade a hundredth. So if I had 1 hundredth, now I have 0 hundredths for 10 thousandths. So if I had 0 thousandths, I now have 10 thousandths, and now I can subtract. 10 thousandths minus 4 thousandths is 6 thousandths. And now I can't take 7 hundredths from 0 hundredths, so I'm going to trade a tenth for 10 more hundredths. So if I had 4 tenths, I now have 3 tenths, and now I get 10 more hundredths for that. So if I had 0, I now have 10 hundredths. So now 10 hundredths minus 7 hundredths is 3 hundredths. 3 tenths minus 2 tenths is 1 tenth. Bring your decimal straight down. And then now subtract your ones. 9 minus 8 is 1. And then 10 minus 0 here is still 10. So 1 minus the 0 tenths is 1 tenth. So my answer is 11 and 136 thousandths. And if I compare to my estimate, they're close, okay? So I know my answer makes sense. So that's just a quick video, a little how-to on how to add and subtract decimals. All right, hope that helped.